The one of the most common questions that we ask each other as Dark Souls fans when we first meet each other is which one is your favorite Dark Souls? Or if you're more comfortable, then which one do you think is the best Dark Souls in the series? Of course, I have come across those questions myself, and I normally give a diplomatic answer to it just to keep the decorum of the entire place. I don't like to get into too much of debate and stuff like that. Apart from that, there is also another reason is that I myself was for a long time unable to decide which one exactly is my favorite and which one do I consider the best out of the three. It was always between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, and after quite a few years, I've finally come to realization that Dark Souls 1 indeed is my favorite Dark Souls of all, and I really believe that that is the best Dark Souls out of the three, and that Miyazaki shouldn't have deviated from that formula that was there. I know the remaining two games also do follow the formula up to quite a bit, but there's still a little bit of essence of it that has been lost, and something which is very deep ingrained in its DNA, and it just lost that part of it, which is really unfortunate. So anyways, let's just hop into it. So as we all know, this is an RPG. My kitten is sleeping in my lap, so I have to take care of that too. So as I was saying, yeah, this is another RPG where we have to build our character and whatnot, and those things are there. RPG elements are there, not in dialogue choices, but rather in the way we build our character. Of course, the dialogue choices are pretty straightforward. There's not much things we can do, although there are certain things that we can choose to do if we want to do it. Put it average. We can go into a lot of details over here while creating the character, and up to a certain extent I definitely do like it, not gonna lie, but can there be more? Can it be a lot better? Yes, it definitely can be a lot better than what is. For example, just for starters, I'll just say one thing, that it doesn't even have a beard or customization option. It doesn't have a beard. We cannot add any beard to our to our character, which is kind of lame. I'd like to keep at least a mustache, But even without those, though, there is a good lot of customization options that we can go through it and make a character that we are kind of satisfied with. But of course, I won't be going too much into it right now. Let's just hop into it, and then because I gotta talk about the main gameplay. This is just the RPG elements that is there in all the other stuff. So yeah. Initial cutscene. Immediately, the first thing that the game that shows us is the eerie atmosphere, and that is one of the biggest plus point that Dark Souls 1 has over the other two. Dark Souls 3 also has it a bit, but in comparison to Dark Souls 1, it really falls flat. It's just this whole atmosphere that this game has. It's this eerie atmosphere. It's very lost, dark, and end of the world kind of thing. And unfortunately, no other From Software game have I got the same feeling there. The way the narration is given over here, the way the art style is presented, and then of course there's the remastered version, so there is a little bit of, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But other than that, there are also the sound effects and the music. Everything is just so well put out that it just gives out, as I said, it just gives out an eerie atmosphere. It's just alluring, to say the least. It is very alluring. It makes, personally, I found it something that makes me really curious about everything that is going on in this world, and makes me want to discover a lot more into it. And this is a great way to even set up the whole premise of the story also. A lot of people, well, in the community and outside the community, just criticize this game for not having a story, but personally, I actually like the story, the way that they have told over here, not gonna lie. Sure, it is very derivative that we need to look into all these materials that we get from all over the place while playing the game, and also the cutscene, and then derive the story by ourselves. But it's still fun that way. It still tells a good story in that way itself, and it actually involves us as a player in this whole game. Because the thing is that when we go in as a player without knowing anything like that, it really feels like the story is my own. It feels really great over there. And spoiler alert, well, this entire video is gonna be spoiler free. This is a really old game. I hope that well, spoiler alert. These are the bosses. These are the main bosses that we need to clear off in this game in order to get the ending. And as I said, the way things are narrated, the way things are shown, the music and stuff is just, again, the atmosphere is just the immersion. That thing is just insane in this game. And so with that, the premise has been set. Our character is shown, which is really ugly at this point because we are an undead. There are ways. Well, there is one way to actually get our proper skin back if you want it. Although it's not, shouldn't be bothering with too much because all we'll be doing is wearing armor. Well, probably I won't be wearing armor because I like to light roll. But hey, there's that thing. Which actually reminds me of one important thing in this game is that in this game armor and heavy rolling and stuff also has a place, unlike in the follow-up games. At least personally I found that the rolls like above medium roll, if you're doing heavy roll you're at a massive disadvantage. In here though, considering how powerful armor can be, feels really I mean having heavy roll does not really matter. As a matter of fact, during my first playthrough, the DLC section of this game, I cleared it off with heavy roll because I was wearing a massive armor which reduces damage by a lot, which is really great. So again, the tutorials are being shown here like messages put in over here, which, and again, I'm not really sure if you've noticed it or not right now. The ambient sound effects, the sound effects and the whole ambience of the entire thing is really giving off that vibe that I was talking about, the eerie vibe. And this is just the prison cell. Once we get out of this tutorial prison over here, things will be even more clear about what I mean. So for anyone who has not played a single Dark Souls, I won't be surprised if anyone says that. This is your checkpoint where you save your game and then you move on from here. If you die, then you respawn over there. And there's one little detail that I found out a lot later in the years, that above there's one guy up standing and ready to jump down. So essentially what happens is that it triggers a boss fight over here. Although thing is, you should not be fighting him at all. So the thing about this game is that it does require some level of mechanical prowess in order to play it. That's why it is known as a hard game. Although personally I call it challenging game, not a hard game. But yeah, it's not. It does require a bit of mechanical skills. But just now, as you can see over here, we were not asked to fight there. Rather, we need to escape to this door, which, as a first-time player, I'd say 100% of the people misses that out. And that entirely sets up the premise of the game, is that it's not about having mechanical prowess, which is important. Again, it is important, but it's not as important as many people think it. It's rather the game is a lot more focused on enemy placements and players' observation skills in order to get through a lot of the levels that they have designed over here. Ouch. I remember when I first played this game, I surely beat down this hollow without any problem because this is just a tutorial guy. You need to beat him anyway. But after this, we actually get a section where the game now. Okay, never mind. Not after this. A bit later than this, I guess. I'll talk when I reach that section. Another section over here where the players are asked to pay a bit more attention to the environment. And sure enough, if we, instead of just running up the stairs like this, if we actually look up a bit, we can definitely see something that's not exactly lined up with the wall and the ceiling. And considering it's round and stuff, it's kind of assumed that the player will know that we need to, that thing is gonna come rolling down once we go up there, and someone's gonna push it down, and it's gonna damage us. There's a little bit of but in there. I'll get to it. Just trigger this thing first. And again, here comes the reward for paying attention, is that if you look behind, the wall actually breaks over here and you get to meet this guy, the guy who dropped the stuff. You talk to him, you get your healings and a key. And before going further into it, you just saw that I opened a shortcut over here, which is a very core aspect of this game's design, is that it has a massive world. It's kind of an open world that is interconnected through various levels, and everything just makes sense, which is pretty infamous. A lot of people just even though a lot of people haven't played the game, must have surely heard about it. And as a matter of fact, Dark Souls 2 even Dark Souls 3 gets a lot of flack for not being like that, and I agree with that with some time. The flask that we just got now heals us, and there's a penalty for that too. You have to wait, you cannot move while healing. All these things actually comes together. I will talk about it in the future. So this is the part where I actually died and gave up completely when I first played the game. That was during my college days, I guess. I just could not get past these two guys, and it was so frustrating. On top of that, there was also other thing that at that time I was just freshly off playing Devil May Cry 4, and so I was looking for something more on that line where I was like being very flashy and very fast paced and stuff like that. Again, the interconnectedness of this entire thing. Remember that boss that we just ran away from? We can fight it now, and we can start off by doing a drop attack over here, which takes a big chunk of his damage, big chunk of his health, I mean. Now you can pretty much see that in the first tutorial boss itself isn't exactly asking for a lot of mechanical prowess over here. It's being pretty easy to dodge this stuff, pretty telegraphed, pretty slow and all. Although I am getting hit in certain places because I'm rolling in the wrong direction. But it's essentially what the game wants you to do, is just pay attention to the enemy movements a bit, and more importantly, paying attention to the enemy's placements a lot. This is something that we will be able to see once we get past this tutorial level, which is just a little bit more. Definitely have heard of this thing, right? About the boss runbacks. So that again is focus on what the game wants you to do. It again wants you to pay attention to your environment and understand the enemy placement so that you can bypass those properly and get to the boss fight. Again, completely focused on what it wants to do. So that is the tutorial section. So okay, this is one section where I have to talk. Let's actually, as a matter of fact, let's just start talking about the game entirely true and true now, because we are in the place where things happen. Firelink Shrine, the infamous Firelink Shrine, your hub area where you meet some NPCs. A lot of NPCs come to later on, and you need to start your game from here, the main game. So one common thing that a lot of people face in here is the problem where people face is to know which way to go. A hell lot of us, which also includes me, goes through this way and reaches the skeleton graveyard, which is a really high level place. Well, technically you can still do it even at low level. I did, but it's a really massive pain in the ass if we try to do that, and that is one criticism that I have towards this game, which again culminates with the rest of the plus and minus too. So we need to go through that little pathway that you can see over there, right? The problem with this is that it's really difficult to notice that thing. They do show us during the cutscene, they show us this direction and then pan the camera towards this. So technically the game is saying that we need to go that way because we can see all those items and stuff also there, and there's a massive place. It's kind of attractive. It should technically, a player should be attracted towards that direction. However, though, it doesn't exactly work that way. There's something that was mentioned in, I don't remember whose video I was watching, but they did mention that also, that the game does show us this pathway. It's just that I don't think I've seen anyone who figures it out that they need to go through that path instead of going through this path. And it's not exactly well communicated. This is something that the game is plagued with. The game, as I said again and again, is a masterclass when it comes to enemy placements, enemy level design and stuff, but unfortunately in certain places the game just fails to communicate to the player exactly what they need to do. Also, the thing about this is the players can still be confused about what they need to do. They're just dropped in the middle of nowhere and now they have places to go and they don't know where to go. Objective is mentioned by this guy, which is again given that you will be curious, you will be talking to any NPCs that you can get over here, so that you can get an idea about what you need to be doing. Again, curiosity will actually lead to a lot of answers in this game, a lot of answers. Characters in this really weird. The way they just keep on laughing after the end of every single sentence is just kind of weird, but it's fun too. That kind of adds into the overall atmosphere also, though, the weird atmosphere that this game actually presents itself in. This somehow sits well. I just do not know how did they figure it out, or what is working so well with it, but it is what it is. Now, I think you've again noticed over here just the thing that I told before. Curiosity will actually lead to a lot of answers in this game, and this game right now showed the players that it's teaching the players immediately again. So if you just talk to him, he just blabbers a lot of things that doesn't exactly matter too much to us. But if you keep on pestering him continuously, he actually ends up revealing what we need to be doing over here. He talked about the bells. After that, of course, he won't be taking anything. He'll not be taking any more questions. So anyways, moving on into the path that we should be going to, we get into the another strong aspect of the game that I love a lot, is the enemy placements. As I said earlier, it's not about having mechanical prowess. It's sure you do definitely require it, but it's more about dealing with the enemies when they're placed. The first enemy is there, then the second enemy drops down over here. There's a guy at the back, which technically a lot of players will probably get alerted, scared that he might aggro, but it's just actually kind of a good place that it teaches about enemy aggro. So when players will see that he does not exactly aggro just because he sees you, it kind of gives them the understanding, or at least expected for them to understand, that you can actually manipulate the enemy's aggro and dissolve the situations accordingly. On the flip side again, while fighting these guys, that guy aggroed and he's just throwing balls over there. So range attackers has higher aggro. That's reflected over here. Although again, look at how smart this is that it is these two enemies aggro are set in such a way, and they're placed in such a way that these firebombs technically will never reach the players while fighting these two, and the player can actually safely go past these guys and then suddenly get a surprise over here, which again teaches the players that they need to be able to take momentary decisions real quick. My cat just woke up. Anyways, they need to be able to take momentary decisions real quick after seeing situations, and they need to be prepared for anything, because that was a surprise over there. As a first time player, if you are just going through this, you will not be expecting something over there. You'll be just too focused on this guy who is throwing fireballs at you, and then that guy who might drop down and attack you. So again, instantly the game just focuses on teaching all the ways that the game is going to challenge you, and this is really great. This is one of the reasons why this game is my favorite, and that is not the end of it. It's not like it's been done just once and then it's forgotten. That thing will continue. It continues throughout the entire game, except for towards the end, which is again this game is infamous for dropping in quality after a certain point. Although even then, I still find it pretty fun to play it. So this is the section where the game finally turns up the heat a little bit, step by step. If you remember in the previous encounter, for the most part, we can just go past that area without aggroing too many enemies together. In this section though, this time, the enemy aggroed in together. And immediately, you get over here and you are presented with a different surprise again. Same thing once again. A guy is waiting over here. So if you're not careful, if you're not aware, he'll get you from behind. And by the way, this animation, this big damage that we are doing from a backstab, the enemies can do to you too. So you have to be really careful about it. Although I don't exactly remember if all the enemies can do it or not, but there are definitely certain enemies who can do a backstab. Again, curiosity. Players will be curious about what is there, and they'll try to jump, which they won't be able to jump. However, again, if they are curious, if they explore, then they will find out that this place we can reach above this building and then jump down from there to reach that spot, which again teaches and explains player that curiosity is your key and you need to be exploring the entire thing, even though it's not an open world. Which actually one big plus that I have to say, even though this is not an open world, exploration feels really rewarding. So I never understood why they showed that dragon in this particular section, but this is one of my favorite spots. Look at all the enemy placements. Unfortunately, he already came here, so well. Look at all the enemy placements over here. There's an archer over there, there's that guy over there. So it's essentially like deciding what to do first. And also managing a stamina, because initial enemies can freaking kill you. Really great this particular section with that range attack. It's like a massive group of enemies. Although they do not really pressure the players, they do not overwhelm the players, but rather it just shows the players how to deal with the entire situation. It's really great. And unfortunately, because of the dragon, or because, well, I don't know what exactly happened. Normally, when we walk into this place is walled up right nice and well, and the enemy keeps on hiding behind it. So moment we once we reach around this part, he just breaks open and surprises the player. Again, adding the element of surprise and asking the players to be aware about their surroundings. This is another one of my favorite part over here. The players are faced with, again, guys who are throwing bombs that definitely never reaches this place. They can see a guy over there, but remember all the time that the game has told you be aware of your surroundings and be prepared. If you're not prepared to go over there, you just run past this entire place. Look at this, look at the number of shit that you have to deal with. These are the kind of places where your mechanical prowess are put into a test. Although again, the enemies are quite sluggish and players can definitely handle the situation if they are aware and if they are ready for anything. Again, awareness. If you're not aware, you will miss this and he will come and do you from behind. Same goes for this guy who keeps on waiting over here if you do not pay attention. And if you're curious, if you are a curious cat, then you get a new chest which you can open up and then get some black fire bombs, which can be useful. Sure enough, now again over here is our three guys. Situations of how you're gonna handle the entire thing, whom you're gonna focus on more. And how you dissolve the entire situation. As I said earlier, the game is entirely about throwing you, the player, into different situations and how you handle that situation overall. Now again, your awareness is brought into question. So you can just go ahead and then try to get those guys. But if you miss this thing behind, there's this guy waiting up for you over here. This game is just constantly trying to do from the get-go. The game just tries to teach the player, just be aware of your surroundings and you'll be fine. And again, this place over here, kind of, since there are a lot of shield enemies, the player by this time will already know that shield enemies can be a bit difficult, considering the two spearmen that we have to deal right before the merchants. So of course, the aggro range of different enemies, the players will actually have to use those in order to dissolve the situation. Of course, they can directly go in and deal with them head on. And apart from this is the more infamous part. Remember when I told you players are constantly rewarded for being curious? This is one place where there is definitely a good reward at the end of your curiosity. However, it also challenges the player's capacity to decide based on what they can see. As you can see, as a naked guy against a guy who is fully played like that, it looks really dangerous. He's way too over level for us. Not that you cannot do him right now, you can definitely do it, but the game expects the players to choose not to try on him right now, and try on him after getting some armor. But then again, if you have a presence of mind, if you are aware of the entire mechanics, if you have learned the mechanics well, we can actually deal with him like this. Just lure him away from this close space, because close space against this guy is gonna be a nightmare. You pull him up in the wider area, and if you remember in the boss, this is what you need to be doing. It's not asking you to be mechanically superior, although sometimes it definitely does. Normally, if you have a better weapon, a starting weapon, you can finish it off quite quickly, but unfortunately I started as guy, and it's gonna take quite some hits before I can actually finish him off. Ow. Yeah. I'm not gonna try anymore right now. I don't want to embarrass myself. The fact that I actually died to him once actually is kind of embarrassing, but anyways, never mind. But this is a good opportunity to show you how the checkpoint system works. As I told you before, you die and you respawn from the checkpoint where you last sit down. And you lose all your souls, which is something that people already know right now. And need to go and collect those back again in order to save your souls, I guess. The game plays very slowly and methodically, and as long as you are patient and you look into the entire situation properly, you're gonna be doing fine. There are only certain places where it really requires you to actually be very good at the game, but otherwise it just goes on like this without much trouble. Again, awareness. If you're not aware, you're gonna get hit on that. Another boss fight over here, not another, well, yeah, boss fight over here. And if you're not curious, I mean, remember the tower where that guy was positioned before you, in just a few areas ahead? The same concept placed over here. See how the game actually uses these little things that it has taught you, and they expect you to do the same things, like repeat those same things while you go through the levels over here. And this is just another example of it, because the thing is, over here the boss fight will start, and if you do not clear off those archers, they're gonna be a pain in the ass once the boss lands down. I'm gonna be cheesing this, but normally on my first playthrough though, I did fight him well properly. Although this time around I'm just gonna cheese this guy. This is one place where the game again lacks a bit, because the thing is, this mechanic of dropping down and attacking is something that is taught during your tutorials and is used in the first boss. However, that's all about it. It's no longer used in the entire game ever again, which is kind of really weird that they did not do it. Probably they ran out of time or something. I don't know what happened, but they did not definitely did not use it at all. Minus point over there. And in this way, there are some little things here and there that the game just does not see through it. I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a bit of light over here, which means that there is a thing. And once again, this again shows one thing that I told you. It's not looking for mechanical prowess over here. Even if I would have fought that guy without cheesing him, it doesn't exactly require too much skill to actually dodge his attacks, or his attacks are way to telegraph, and it's really easy to get through him. Even though the space is really close space, it's really not that hard. It's more important to actually clear off those archers and clear off your way. And again, if you are smart enough, if you are curious enough, you can actually pull that off, that little trick over there, which actually makes the boss fight a non-boss fight at all. It's just a couple of drop attacks, and that's it. And as I was saying, like again, the music has entirely stopped, and we have see this beautiful vistas over here. Is this kind of really, I don't know. Eerie is one word that I've already used several times. It's just magnificent to even look at it. Of course, we have the NPC over here. You can talk to him, and if you talk to NPCs, you'll see the benefit later on where they come to help us. This is, by the way, Solaire, the infamous Solaire. So this is one place where I have a bit of complaint over here. So essentially what's going to happen right now is that we are going to try to cross this bridge, which of course looks really suspicious. Let's be honest, anyone who plays any video games definitely know this is really suspicious, that the massive bridge is just lying there with items and few random enemies. Doesn't make any sense. And what happens is that when we go into the bridge, the dragon that we saw earlier comes down and then rains fire on us, killing the enemies and damaging the player. It doesn't kill the player, but it definitely does a bit of damage to the player, and we need to figure out that trying to cross the bridge like this, for example, the dragon. What the dragon does is that he sits down over there and waits. So essentially every time we get too close to that door over there, he breathes fire, and at that time the fire is going to be an insta kill. So we cannot exactly, my kids got up. What my problem over here is that there is no indication over here that the dragon's gonna come down and kill us. A lot of people say that there's a dead body, and then there are burn marks over there. It still is not exactly enough. I don't think it's enough to actually tell the players that that a dragon is gonna be flying down over here. Again, the planning of each and everything of the game is really well done. It's just that there are certain points where the execution is not exactly the best, and that kind of holds it back a bit. Although despite all those, it's still, as I said, is my favorite Dark Souls, and it is, in my opinion, the best one in the trilogy. Even better than Elden Ring, to be honest. So anyways, in defense of the game though, I will say this. This actually gives a good hint to the players about it. First and foremost, sure, the player did not get killed in one hit, so that means it's kind of a warning shot. And when the player can see that the enemies got killed, one-shotted by the dragon, that means it is kind of expected of the player to actually understand that this thing's gonna kill them instantly. And also, no one would like to walk into a fire-breathing dragon like that directly. And yeah. Where, again, this game, however, kind of falls short is that it's letting the players know that the dragon can be lured and then those items can be collected. The thing is that if we get too close over here, the dragons should be breathing fire, although it is not breathing fire right now for some strange reason. There you go. Yeah. Pretty surprising, the game is kind of acting really differently from normally what my experience is. But essentially it is shown that the dragon actually is guarding those things and we cannot go in there like that. But it does not say properly, again, is the fact that the dragon actually comes down, we can lure him down, and then we can make a run for that bonfire and capture that. It is, of course, not necessary. We have a different route. We can go down those stairs and then make our way. But we cannot get into that bonfire through any other way other than this one single particular way. And again, the game does not tell us that we can actually do that. I don't know why the dragon is not reacting, but let's just do one thing. Let's just open up a shortcut over here. There it is. This is the beauty of Dark Souls over here, this interconnected world. If you remember, this is the place where I was talking about, well, a lot of things. So now we can, as a player, we can just keep on doing this a lot. Like, I remember doing this a lot, but because I just wanted those items and I did not know. At the end, of course, I had to go on YouTube and figured out that, well, not figured out, I was told that the dragon actually comes down and we can actually make a run for it. And then the dragon just goes away and we can collect the items, wherein we get one of the best swords in the game. This is it. Holy shit. If we wouldn't have taken this route, we could have actually gone through, we would have come out from this little place over here. which is true from under the bridge. This is again, as I was saying, the interconnectedness of this entire thing is just insanely good. Take this guy out. There you go. We got a claymore. Of course I cannot use that right now. And then we get into the next situation over here. A new scenario with a new enemy that looks really intimidating, and and you need to figure out how you want to deal with him at given this case. There's the easy way, and of course there's the hard way. For the easy way, again, if you explore, then you will find out a secret. Not exactly a secret, you'll get an item that actually can be used to cheese that enemy once again, and then you move into the next part of this level. So yeah, this is what actually is about the game. It's always more about the placement, enemy placements, and the level design. The overall thing that actually makes me really love this game a lot. As a matter of fact, I actually made a video earlier, I think it was in last year, about the aspect of combat that is often ignored, and this is the thing that is there. The encounter design. The game completely focuses a lot on the encounter design, which includes your level design and enemy placements and everything in between, and then it's an experience that feels very rewarding to go through. This is what makes this game very special. It is oftentimes I do not exactly, whenever I play this game, I do not exactly feel too tense. Definitely there was a bit of tension in it since there was so much threat around the world, but oftentimes it's just a lot more in a weird way, again in a more eerie way, a very relaxing experience that is filled with a lot of satisfaction whenever for overcoming the entire thing that the game throws at me, and it feels really great. And that's the reason why I love this game so much. More than mechanical prowess, which is again something something that I really like in video games, but more than that, it asks its players to be a bit more aware and be a bit more smart. It's a very unique approach in game design, I believe, and it just feels very good playing through it. So yeah, this is the reason why I just love Dark Souls 1 a lot, and I really consider this to be the greatest game that From Software has made in the Dark Souls series. Dark Souls 2 is just Dark Souls 2, that's a video that I have to discuss. I have to think about a lot how to exactly describe that. It's not that I hate that game, despite how I may react with people. I do not hate that game. I do not particularly dislike it. I like it, but it's just that I don't consider it to be the... let's just not talk about it right now. And coming to Dark Souls 3, the atmosphere and stuff are there, but somehow the overall feeling of it has completely changed, and it focuses so much more on the mechanical side of things, is that it feels very different from Dark Souls 1. And not that I completely dislike it, but it's just that it definitely makes me miss Dark Souls 1 a bit more, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.